Welcome to the STEM Pathways with Rohan Sharma podcast, where we dive into the exciting world of science, technology, engineering, and math. In each episode, we share exciting stories, groundbreaking research, and inspiring interviews with experts and enthusiasts who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just curious about how the world works, join us as we explore the endless possibilities of STEM. Let's get started. Today, I'll be interviewing Kehinde Williams, who holds a master's degree from Georgia Tech in electrical and computer engineering. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Excited to chat. How's it going? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So to get started, I wanted to ask what made you choose your major for your undergrad of electrical and computer engineering?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty interesting story. So I moved here for college. So I came on an F1 visa, and I actually really wanted to study mechanical engineering. But the only thing I knew was that I wanted to study engineering, and like it was just going back to high school, right? I really liked math. I really liked physics. I really liked chemistry. Didn't really like bio. Yeah, I was good at like the arts and stuff, but I wasn't really like moved. Right? They didn't come easy to me. And so I knew I wanted to study engineering. And like the college I applied to, I really thought it was going to be mechanical engineering because I wanted to be like into like robotics and making cars and stuff like that. But when I landed in the US, the college I got into didn't actually have mechanical engineering on my campus. And like the alternative was like a 2 hour commute to go take the Mech E classes. And I wasn't really trying to do that. So I went and talked to an advisor and he walked me through all the classes. And then I realized that like ECE was actually like more math heavy. And obviously when you land, like you go to the labs, you see all the computer science students doing all the cool stuff, the EE people like they're playing with like, the Arduinos and stuff. And like it seemed pretty cool. And I thought I had the analytical skills, like just I had the aptitude for it. And I thought it could be interesting. And I figured like if I didn't like it by my second year, I could swap because first 2 years are just like gen ed. But I took the first circuits class and like I knew like that's what I was gonna do like for the rest of my life because I just liked it that much.
Yeah. So you went to the New York Institute of Technology. Where in New York is that?
Yo, it's right opposite Trump Tower. It's actually like on it's on 60th in Columbus Circle. Basically, it's like in Midtown Manhattan. So that was like pretty fun. Like the college was our campus. The city was our campus, is what we used to say all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very cool location to have your university.
Yeah.
When along this do you realize that you wanted to move on to a master's?
So there were I did an internship when I was in college that was in the field I thought I really liked. Like it was like control systems, like dynamic controls. That was my favorite class in undergrad. Um it and it's still to today, like I think I haven't enjoyed a class more than that because it's a very like it's really the core of engineering, right? It's like how do you minimize error? How do you optimize your system so that you don't over slash undershoot. Like it really gets to the core of engineering. It's math heavy, but also the applications are pretty broad. Like almost everything in today's world uses like some form of control system. But then I got to the internship and I was just like, yeah, like this is not it for me. And like I sort of like built myself for that kind of career path. But when I realized like I wasn't super passionate about it, at least as a career, I realized that like, okay, what is the next best thing? And I really liked digital design. That was like my second thing. And I was really close to my digital design professor. And we had like a not a heart to heart, but a conversation. And like it's like, yo, if you really want to do digital design, you got to do a master's, right? And so I got to it applying, and one of my really close friends, he was also applying for a master's. He was going to do digital design. He also wanted to go to Georgia Tech. So we applied together and we got in. But it really the sum total of it is like my experience in the classroom with the particular field did not gel with my like in-person experience. So I knew I had to make a change. And the career that I chose, it requires an advanced degree, like pretty much. Like you almost can't get in without taking a master's degree.
Mhm. And then yeah, so what was your experience like at Georgia Tech?
Oh man, like just believe what to tell you, man. Like it's a great school. but like it builds like grinders. Like it's tough. The academic rigor is like um up there, right? But at the same time, you learn a lot, and like the opportunity that comes after a tech degree is like endless, especially if you want to end up in like, some Silicon Valley company, or like you want to do a startup, or like, if you want to do anything like super technical. I think GT is probably like the way to go. Like it's rigorous, it's project based. Like you get a balance of you kind of feel like you get the feel for what you would be doing in the real world would entail at a level that I don't think is like common at all universities. But also was in Atlanta, and the campus is really in the city. It's like in Midtown Atlanta as well. So it's pretty fun. And like the students are like, everyone is grinding, so people are super helpful, professors are super helpful. So it was a great experience all in all for me. Like I really, really liked it. It's really the thing that gave me the confidence to know that I can pretty much do anything that I want to do as long as I put my mind to it.
Yeah. And then outside of classes, was there anything you're involved in while you're there?
Azure Tech, in undergrad, yes. Azure Tech, no. Undergrad, I did it all right. I was in student government. I was in the National Society of Black Engineers. I was an orientation leader, first year mentor. I got that all round experience. But when I got to Georgia Tech, one, it was COVID. So there wasn't really much like social activity going on at the time.
Mhm.
Most of our classes were virtual, but even when they were in person, they were like, social distance. Like it was just not the time to really, really get involved. But also I took like a heavy course load, so I could be done in a year. So that I think that definitely had an impact. I mean, I was a TA and I taught a class, but I think that was still academic as well. But outside of Georgia Tech as a whole, yeah, I met a lot of cool people that were doing a lot of cool stuff while I was in Atlanta.
Mhm. Yeah. And then are you able to enjoy Atlanta as a city even when you are going through those classes, you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, look, Georgia Tech is crazy, right? Like it's tough, but like if you do the things when you're supposed to do them, like it's not gonna like be the end all be all. And also like it's grad school, the stakes are a little bit lower than undergrad. I think most of the things that you have to do there, like research focused, problems that you have to solve have not necessarily been solved before. So the grading is usually a little bit more qualitative. And if you do like a great if you actually put like your best foot forward, um, you can make it out with like decent grades, good grades. So it's not you can't have a crazy time, but you do have time to like explore the city. Go to the Coca-Cola Museum, go to the aquarium, um, go watch the Atlanta Hawks. You can do all that stuff in and around the semester or when the semester is done for sure.
Yeah. So what was your first job out of Georgia Tech?
Oh yeah, I was at NVIDIA. So I was doing physical design work at NVIDIA. Basically we worked on chips like that go into data centers, automotive vehicles, like not automotive, AV, like auto what I'm missing the word, autonomous vehicles, CPUs, all that kind of stuff, right? Basically like chips for NVIDIA. That's what I did.
Yeah. And what's the work environment at NVIDIA like? Do you think it's different than a lot of companies? I've heard things about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like if you've ever read the book The Lean Startup, like NVIDIA kind of like epitomizes that. Like they have these small directed teams that are like fit for their purpose, right? Like they have this thing that they're meant to execute, and the goal basically is like how can we achieve, the biggest outcome with the smallest team possible and keep a very flat organizational structure so that you don't have to go through like levels of bureaucracy to innovate. Like it was super fast paced, but it felt like you could reach out to anyone with a good idea and like you would be heard at the very least. And sometimes you might even like, you get visibility in a way that I don't think is possible like at other companies with like hierarchical structures. And you don't deal with the bloat that has to, that comes with like having like many people in the same team trying to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah. And when did you decide that you wanted to become a founder and start your own company?
Yeah, so I think from Georgia Tech and NVIDIA, I realized that I could really do like hard things. Like I could really go after things that are not necessarily comfortable. And I think I always had it at the back of my mind that I was going to try and do my own thing eventually. I think what happened was there is always like there's a synergy that needs to happen between having the right like mindset, um, finding the right opportunity. So like, a place where like it could be disrupted or like, there's a nice market for it. And then finding the right person to build with. And I think those three things happened to me for me in very quick succession. So I knew I wanted to. So initially, before we went to do Shepherd, we were going to start like a side business. I had met my co-founder like over like coffee. We had been Twitter mutuals, right? And then he came to Austin. He happened to be visiting Austin, and like I just said, hey, we should grab a bite to eat. And like immediately we got there, right? Like the juices were flowing, like ideas were just going about, and we like, yo, we would eventually try to do something. And then GPT 3.5 drops, right? And like we were like, wait, like this is definitely going to revolutionize education. So all of a sudden, a market was created and we applied to YC. We got into YC, and at that point, like I had no more excuses to like hold back on going full time and chasing the dream. So basically, what happened was like there wasn't like a specific moment. I always knew that I was going to do my own thing. I was just waiting for the other thing, two things to come in line, and as soon as they did, I pulled the trigger.
Yeah. So what is your startup? What are you guys trying to do?
Yeah, so our goal really is to solve the Bloom 2 Sigma problem. And what that really says is to really improve educational outcomes, you need like personalized education, like one-on-one tutoring. Like it's the only thing that's proving to like move like grades by like any meaningful, standard deviation or metric, right? Um, so what happened, what Shepherd is aiming to do is to provide that to everyone in the world, right? Like you should have something in your pocket that like sits with you throughout your learning journey and has context of like what you like to learn, the way you like to learn, when you like to learn, and should be like um what's the discerning enough to figure out, where to meet you at your point of need. So like if you're a visual learner, right, maybe we should pass you stuff with pictures. If you need to do like a lot of active recall, create quizzes and flashcards for you. If you need to have like one-on-one conversations, do it with a chat bot or via voice. And if your main thing that you need help with is time management, be able to plug into your calendar and automatically schedule time for you to study and around like your busy schedule, right? So basically, we are building every learner's AI sidekick that's there to help them study, plan, and achieve whatever learning goals they have set for themselves.
And have you launched already, or do you have a beta
Yeah,
yet?
Separate is live. We're serving users now, and it's going well. We went live last September and we're making revenue now, and it's growing every month. So, fingers crossed that we're onto something.
Yeah. And wait, so when did you get into YC? Was that two
So
years ago?
yeah. Yeah, no, we got into YC last year, right? We had a version of the product that we basically put through a beta, really, right? And that was spring of last year. We took all those learnings over the summer. We synthesized all of that, rebuilt the product from the ground up, and then launched in September.
Mm. And then right now is your team still just you and one other person?
Yeah, me and my co-founder, and we have like a couple devs, but me and my co-founder mainly on the team.
Mm. And then how was it? Did you already know a lot of coding?
So no, right? I mean, I knew how to program, right? So I could write Python pretty decently. I had to do that at NVIDIA, and I just learned that, picked that up through like just going through engineering, and obviously knew the basics of like OOP, right? But where we still get a lot of help or where we still get things is, all that like app structure stuff and like, you have to learn a lot of version control, Git, best practices. But in terms of like actual like programming, pretty much always had a hang of that, getting computers to do what I want to do. But we have like, a team that like helps us with the front end stuff as well. But like in terms of like building up like functions and stuff, like we between Moyo and myself, we do the algorithm design and implementation ourselves.
Yeah. So, right now you're in San Francisco, right?
Oh no, I'm in Austin now.
Or you're in Austin. Oh, and then
Yeah,
were you in the Bay Area when you were with YC?
yeah, I was in the Bay.
How did YC help you?
Yeah, so YC is essentially like a pressure cooker for your startup. It makes you like accelerate everything you do, right? You talk to people every week. It's just, like you talk to your group partners every week, and you talk to like members in your group every week, and like just watching basically the greatest minds at that time, or or some of like the most ambitious people that you have at that time, right? Talk about their progress and their ideas. It reinforces in you that like you have to keep that fire burning and like don't have like a dull day. And there are three things that need to be happening. You're either selling, right, building the product, or learning. And basically, YC inculcated that in us. So like right now, that every single time, right, if I'm not building, I'm trying to sell. If I'm not selling, I'm watching user videos and trying to make sure I'm learning like from how people are using the product to inform a feedback loop that goes back into what we should build next or how we should improve the product or how we can sell it better.
So, what are your future goals with the company as of now, both
Yeah,
short and long term?
yeah. Short term is we should reach like meaningful skill, right? We should be able to, when you go into college, people should be asking you, hey, like, do you have Shepherd, right? We should have a network of learners on Shepherd that's like deeply penetrated, like people's psyche, at least students, right? It should be recognized as a brand name. That's one of my short-term goals. And long term, it's like I want to have played a role in bringing like educational equity around the world. It should not matter, where you're from or how much your parents can pay. You should be able to get like you should be able to learn what you need to learn, one, to pass exams, but two, just to feed your curiosity. Like you should not need to, go to the best schools to be able to expand your mind to the vast, ideas and concepts that are out in the world. You should be able to do that like regardless of where you are in the world.
Yeah. So, for my last question, I want to ask you have one piece of advice for someone who's still in high school or early in college wanting to follow a similar career path as you.
One, like do the work, right? Like take the classes, like and try to like be present and like try to learn as much as you can there. But also start, and this is one thing that I'm also speaking to like my past self. Start to try to build while you're there, especially if you're like in engineering, right? Or even if you're not in engineering, like try to pursue um passions that are very close to what you see yourself doing over the next 5 years. If you see yourself doing a startup over the next 5 years, learn what it's like to like build like a web app or a mobile app on the side. If you see yourself being a researcher, find a professor and like do some research with them and figure out what it is, what it takes to churn out high quality research. But also like don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Um, and this goes from across like switching your major, changing your major, taking a major that's not popular. Um, just make sure you bet on yourself because that confidence will drive you to achieve things that you think may not be possible or may not seem, possible to the regular looker. And I think the last thing I would say is I think a huge thing that like has helped me on my startup journey has been like my gen eds. I know in engineering there's a typical like some archetype to like, why do I need to take this philosophy class or why do I need to take this psychology class or some other like gen ed class. I think it helps you, especially if you're building like a consumer product or like a product that's not like for other devs, it helps you with perspective and it helps you like get like user empathy, like help you understand like things that might be needed to be built for the world that people might not be able to build, but you have the skills to do. And because you have the understanding of what needs to be built and where you need to meet them, and you also have the skill to make that a reality, you can build like a really, really compelling product that goes on to have like a huge impact on people's lives.
Yeah. All right then. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, awesome, man. It was great, 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 great talking.